Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Count me in. Count me in for children's curriculum, all church retreat, copies of these days in the upper room, choral music in support of Hope Haven and the Oasis. Count me in. Count me in for pastoral care, hospital visits, funerals, weddings, a great support staff, officer training, website maintenance, utility bills, grab-and-go breakfast ministry, Cora Cox Academy, and Roosevelt Elementary School. Count me in. Count me in for great sermons and sermon preparation time, nursery expenses, property insurance, vacation Bible school, guest musicians, the Salvation Army soup kitchen, Shades of Grace, and Second Harvest Food Bank. By the way, do you know that over 90% of our session members, deacons, and members of the Stewardship Committee have already made their pledge before our kickoff today? Count me in. Count me in for sound equipment, streaming and lighting expenses, Interfaith Hospitality Network, support of our Presbyterian, online giving, confirmation class, organ and piano maintenance, and membership nurture. Count me in. Count me in for the all-church picnic, youth fellowship, Bibles for our children, building maintenance, Sunset Gap, a choir director, director of Christian education and youth, and our pastor. Another, by the way, check out the bulletin board for Stewardship out in the hallway. Stewardship packets will be mailed tomorrow to everyone. Anticipate their arrival in your home. Check out the Stewardship insert in today's bulletin. Make note of the 22 church members who are helping to lead the campaign this year. Count me in. Count me in for Family Promise, Habitat for Humanity, Kingsport Homeless Ministry, Camp Scholarship, and Holston Presbytery Camp. Count me in. Count me in to pray for our church, to tell others about our church, to invite others to our church, and to pray for the Stewardship campaign. Count me in to financially support our church, perhaps to pledge for the first time, to consider what an increase might look like in your pledge. Count me in. Count me in. Count me in. Hey, God, count us in. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Carson Carell, and I've grown up in this church. I've been here for 25 years. Don Sherritt asked me to be on the Stewardship Committee to represent the younger people of our church. So as the representative, I wanted to take a moment to thank each of you for all you've done for all of us. You've taught Sunday school. You've participated in Vacation Bible School. You've taught children's choir, Agnes. You've chaperoned our mission trips at Holston Presbytery Camp and Montreat. I've got a principal, an English teacher, and a Spanish teacher in this room right now. You've supported us with your time and your gifts. As a young adult who has moved back to Kingsport, I really recognize how important it is to support our youth and the mission work they're involved in. So thank each of you for what you've always done and what I know you will continue to do for your young people and youth. Our slogan this year is Count Me In, so I hope we can count on each of you. Thank you.
When Don Sherritt asked me to do a minute for stewardship and tell the congregation why Tim and I give to First Presbyterian Church, I immediately thought about our time when we were visiting, when we were new to the area and we were looking for a church family. One of the things that attracted us to First Presbyterian was that it was immediately apparent how generous this congregation is. We heard about the work of the church in the community in organizations like Habitat for Humanity, through the child care center that we host here, and that was one of the things that led us to join. Since joining the church, we've been able to participate with the outreach committee and been able to see how the generosity of this congregation positively impacts our local community as well as the world. The work that this church does to support students at Cora Cox Academy, Roosevelt Elementary has really been such a fun thing to see and get to be a part of, as well as the work we do internationally through the mission coworkers that we support in Guatemala and Niger. Now that we have 4 children in the church, we give to invest in their future. And I would like to thank each of you for sharing not only your financial resources, but also your time and your knowledge with not only my kids, but the other children and youth of the church. So I would ask that you prayerfully consider during the stewardship season how you'll be pledging to support the church, but thank you for your generosity that benefits not only those within our congregation, but also outside of the congregation. So thank you.
And I'm here on behalf of the Stewardship Committee to share why we give to the church. So I have 3 very different children on 3 very different faith journeys. The church has met each one where they are and provided them the different things they need through Sunday school, youth group, Montreat, all church retreat, fellowship opportunities, and a youth minister who is always there for them. All of this is possible because of the generous donations from the church family, and that's why we give to the church.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Walker, and I'm serving on this year's stewardship team and campaign called Count Me In. As Pastor Mike said in his sermon a few weeks ago, true stewardship comes from the heart. From what I've experienced as a member of First Presbyterian Church for the last 30 years, our congregation and staff live out the mission statement to be the hands and feet of Christ and give from their hearts. Just recently, I had an unfortunate event during a routine colonoscopy. My bowel was perforated, I coded, I ended up in the hospital on a ventilator, recovering from an emergency bowel resection surgery. Pastor Mike Shelton, parish nurse Becca Wright, and my deacon's wife, Margaret Calcott, visited and checked on me along with other friends and family. Before I left the hospital, Becca arranged a meal train that she exclaimed was filled entirely within 1 day of posting. While I recovered at home, I received several get well cards, phone calls, visits, and prayers from my church family. I felt very loved, nurtured, and supported during a difficult time. My story, I believe, is one example of many ways giving comes from the heart of our church members. I'm grateful to serve and give to my church alongside each of you, so count me in.
Good morning and welcome. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice as God's people and be glad in it. This year, again, like last year, I've been asked to do a short minute for mission, if you will, or promo for our stewardship campaign this year, appropriately entitled Count Me In. But before I get into that, I want to take the opportunity to thank this congregation for your loyal support through such a trying time as this. It's interesting, 18 out of my 23 months here as pastor have been interrupted by COVID. And yet through it all, First Presbyterian Church has remained faithful, doing what we can, when we can, trying to stay connected to each other, and carrying out our local missions. We all continue to pray, I think, for an end to this pandemic and for God's protection and blessing upon all those who are putting their lives on the line and at risk in caring for other people. I also want to take the opportunity to thank our stewardship team, cheered again by Don Sherritt, for another year of dedicated service, for getting the message out to you. This year's theme, Count Me In, was especially meaningful and appealing to me and my family. So very positive, so very personal. It felt like we were being invited all of us, to stand up and be counted, as the old hymn put it, to personally get involved, to count me in not only in terms of making financial contributions, but to re-engage, to get active. And in my mind, that is exactly the message our church needed to hear, to count us all in, all of our people doing what we can with what gifts we have. It is time, my friends, to reconnect. So I'm calling all of us, and maybe especially to those who have been sidelined by this virus and become inactive. It's time to come back. It's time to re-engage. We are not the same church without all of our people using their God-given gifts to their full potential. You know, my wife and I still look forward to getting to know more of you better. As I told our elders at a recent church retreat, my number one goal in coming here was to get to know the church. That wasn't easy in these times. You know, there are many other hopes and dreams I have for this congregation, but none are more important than getting to know you, personally engaging with the congregation. And yet, all of the small group gatherings that we had planned prior to COVID got canceled. But as we come out of this mess, I guess you'd call it, trust me when I say that there will be new opportunities and other events planned for you to get to know me and me to get to know you. I believe that FPC's best days are still ahead of us. That may sound like a pep talk to you, but I truly believe that. And I am committed as ever to being one part of making that dream come true. But here is my message to you today. Can I count on you? Will you count yourself in? To do your part, to be committed to doing whatever you feel God is calling you to do in the life and ministry and service of this church. I need your help. I truly do, to make God's dream for this church come true. Count yourself in. Truly, it will be worth it. Again, I want to thank God for calling me to this church in Kingsport. As Jeremiah said, the plans God has for us are good plans. I believe that verse. Whatever God plans for us to do will be designed to bring glory to Him and not to us. I've always believed that what God requires, God inspires, so that whatever God leads FPC to do, we will be given strength, love, patience, joy, and inspiration to do it. So my friends, here is my message to you today. I am counting myself in to doing what God wants us to do. May I count on you. Thank you.
Well, good morning again. Don Sheridan asked me if I would do this, and I said, sure. And I got to thinking about it. I got my mind right, and then he sent me a note. He said, I want you to tell the people why you give to the church. So I started all over. I want to quote the preacher in his recent newsletter. He said, why we give is more important than what we give. I got to thinking about that. So I went to Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 9:7. It says there, you must each make up your own mind as to how much you should give. Don't give reluctantly or in response to pressure, for God loves the person who gives cheerfully. Then looked at Billy Graham's writings. He said the greatest blessing of giving is not on the financial side of the ledger, but on the spiritual side. You receive a sense of being honest with God. You receive a consciousness that you are in partnership with God, that you are doing something constructive, that you are working with Him to reach the world for Jesus Christ. Now, what could be more important than that? Well, we give, Madeline and I give, because we believe that it's the right thing to do. It's your commitment to the church and to God to be the hands of Christ. As they say in the ad on TV, why in the world would you not? I want to ask you to pray hard and earnestly about your giving and for our stewardship program. And also, I think it would be wise if you could find a way to include the youth in your discussions about commitments to giving for the church. Count us in.